Good afternoon, vinyl community, or good evening. Aris here with another video. Thought I'd get this one in. It could be a lively night tonight. In a minute, I'll be watching. In about 4 hours, I'll be watching Southampton dismantle Liverpool live on TV. Come on, you Saints! And then about 3 in the morning, it's Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. So God knows what state I'll be in by the time that the bell rings for that. But yeah, looking forward to it. We are living the dream. But I thought I'd squeeze in a quick video first, and I thought I'd do me top 10 classic era hip hop records of all time. I was an absolute hip hop nut as a kid. Loved it. Most of my hip hop I had on cassette, because that's kind of what you did. Because I had a huge boombox called a Hitachi Superwoofer, which was, it made you the Don if you had that, and I've still got it somewhere. I think it's at my mum's, and it's an absolute beauty. They go for mega money now. I think they go for about, it was expensive then. It was like 120 quid when I bought it, and that was 35 years ago. But I think they go for about 600 quid now. So I really need to try and find it. But sadly, I threw all my cassettes away. I had about 200 hip hop cassettes, and as I'm going to explain in a minute, they go for, many of them go for eye-watering amounts of money, those cassettes. But yeah, let's crack on. Coming in at number 10, Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet. It's a tough one to decide, because It Takes a Nation of Millions, which came before this, was an absolute iconic hip hop album. But I kind of prefer this. I think it works better as an album. I do have a couple of problems with this record. One, which is a common problem with a few of these records, is that hip hop records tended to be quite lengthy. And I think this one clocks in around 60 minutes, and they only put it on, and this was quite common, only put it on one piece of vinyl. Now, anyone who knows, a bit of vinyl can handle about 21 minutes per side until the fidelity starts going south badly. And the first thing to go is the bass line, and obviously bass is pretty crucial with hip hop. So this, you've really got to crank this, and when you do, the sound starts going very wonky. My other problem with this is, just before the release of this, Professor Griff, the Minister of Information, started coming up with some anti-Semitic narratives, which, as someone who from a Jewish family, obviously caused me quite a philosophical debate. And also it contains not only probably their weakest ever track, Meet the G That Killed Me, which is truly awful anyway. It's also homophobic, which is pretty poor. And would I let Axl Rose get away with the same thing? No, I wouldn't have. Did I let Chuck D and Public Enemy get away with it? I kind of did. And again, there's a philosophical debate to be had there. But it is a fantastic album. The first 6 tracks on this are absolutely killer. It's almost like the Bomb Squad are producing it. It's almost like an industrial sound. There's a couple of sort of almost instrumental cut-ups of just radio clips and samples, which are absolutely fantastic. Who Stole the Soul is fantastic. It's just a great album, a really great album. And even Flavor Flav, who normally isn't, I'm not the biggest Flavor Flav fan, but 911 is a Joke is just a brilliant track, and one of their poppiest tracks, and an absolute party starter. But yeah, Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, number 10. Number 9, another Bomb Squad production, Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. A great Ice Cube album. If I had The Predator by Ice Cube on vinyl, this would be in there, because The Predator came out just after the Rodney King incident in '92. And it was, I mean, Chuck D always said that hip hop was like CNN on vinyl, and that was a great example, because The Predator was almost like a commentary on post-Rodney King America. It's a really thrilling album, but this is fantastic as well. It just tears along, this one. There's loads of tracks on it. It's got America's Most Wanted on it as well. Once Upon a Time in the Projects. Absolutely fantastic album. So that's number 9. Number 8, not as well known maybe, the Beatnuts, Street Level. The Beatnuts were fantastic DJs and fantastic producers, and they used samples brilliantly. There's a track they did with Big Pun called Off the Books, which isn't on here, which is one of the most iconic hip hop tracks ever. Like, if you play that in a club even now, it just goes off. They really knew how to sample. They weren't the greatest rappers in the world, which is why their best tracks tend to involve other people rapping. This one's still in the older, on the sleeve as well, which is weird for me. I don't know why I've got that. But yeah, the beat nuts, street level. The music's fantastic. The rapping can be hit and miss. But yeah, fantastic track album. Number 7. A lot of people will say this is the greatest hip hop album ever. I'm not as sold on it. Nas, Illmatic. It does contain moments of utter brilliance. New York State of Mind, The World Is Yours, Halftime, Memory Lane. But there's a couple of tracks I'm not as keen on here. I mean, one of the benefits of it, it's only about 35 minutes long, and so it sounds fantastic. Everyone says Nas is the greatest rapper ever. I would kind of disagree. I do like Nas, but I think I've got one in here who I prefer. In fact, I would say Ice Cube is maybe my favourite ever rapper. I know a lot of people say Raekwon as well, or Rakim, but yeah, Nas, Illmatic, fantastic album, but not my favourite ever. Number 6, A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. This is probably my favourite. Yeah, this is my favourite Tribe album. I love their debut as well. I'm not so keen on Low End Theory, which everyone loves. This came out. I bought this the day it came out. This is the copy I bought in HMV. I think around October '93, and apparently it came out the same day as Wu-Tang's debut. I didn't know that, and the Wu-Tang couldn't have been that well publicised, because I would have been all over that if I'd known. But yeah, they both came out on the same day. Fantastic album. Pretty much all killer, no filler. And yeah, it comes out on 2 bits of vinyl, which always helps. Love it. Midnight Marauders, Tribe Called Quest. Number 5, I think this is underrated. Cypress Hill's debut. Absolutely fantastic. DJ Muggs, again, he knows how to use a sample. Brilliant producer. He produced Jump Around by House of Pain after this. Everyone goes on about Black Sunday. I don't even though the singles on Black Sunday, which was the album after this, are obviously iconic. When the shit goes down, Insane in the Brain. This is the better album by far, I think. And side 2 on this is fantastic. It sounds like really underground, and the beats are really dusty, and they use a lot of Latin beats on this, and it's just absolutely awesome, this album. Absolutely superb. Cypress Hill's debut, it's just brilliant. I've been listening to it now for 29 years, I think, and I still pull it out every so often, and it's absolutely brilliant. Number 5, I think I've already lost count. All spoken about the Wu-Tang, and I'm not the biggest fan of the Wu-Tang Clan in terms of their albums. I mean, the first album, brilliant, but I'm not absolutely sold on it. It's not an album I used to dig out time and time again. I prefer a lot of the solo offshoots, and this is an example. Tikau by Method Man. Came out in, I think, October '94, and it's just fantastic. RZA on production, I think. Sort of sub-aqua, really blunted beats. Came out around the same time as British trip hop was beginning. So you had things like Tricky's Maxine K and like Portishead, and it's kind of in a similar ballpark. It's that really sort of sub-aqua, stoned beats. Although it does have Bring the Pain on here, which is just an absolutely iconic hip hop single. But yeah, Tikau by Method Man. Absolutely love this. I think this one gets a little bit overlooked when people talk about the solo offshoots of the Wu, but I think it's fantastic. I think it stands up, and as I said, it's one for the older pigeon dust smokers. I think, to be honest, it's a 2 a.m. album, but absolutely fantastic. We are at number 3. Okay, right. The Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. I worked on HMV. I got a job in HMV when I was 17, 1989. And the first record I ever sold at HMV was Interesting Drug 12-inch by Morrissey. When I worked at HMV, this came out, and we ordered a lot. and we couldn't shift him because this was probably the most unfashionable album you could have. We couldn't shift them. We put it in the bargain bin eventually for about $3.99. We still couldn't shift it. If I had walked outside and nailed this to a tree, someone would have come up, stolen the nail, and left the album. You could not give this damn record away. In the end, I asked my boss, "Can I just take one?" And he said, "Yeah, have it," because we didn't know what to do with them all. And funny enough, and I don't know why I did this, but I wish I'd done this more. But I put the little NME review in here. I wish I'd done this more often. So 29th of July 1989. I mean, they liked it. They gave it 8 out of 10. I mean, this record was getting slagged by everyone because everyone wanted License to Ill Part 2. And this wasn't License to Ill. And I've got to be honest, when I first heard it, I wasn't overly keen. It was just too busy, too exhausting. I mean, it's got about 1,200 samples on it. I love it now, and I think it's now recognised as one of the all-time classic hip-hop albums of all time. But yeah, it just, you could not shift. This is, I mean, it goes to show you, because when the Chemical Brothers came out in '94, this is produced by the Dust Brothers, genius producers. The Chemical Brothers called themselves the Dust Brothers in tribute to this, and because really no one was bothered about this album, even by '94, 5 years after, they didn't think anyone would notice if they called themselves the Dust Brothers. And I think the Chemical Brothers actually put their first single out as the Dust Brothers. Although the Dust Brothers did eventually get the hump and put in some sort of injunction. So the Chemical Brothers had to call themselves the Chemical Brothers, not the Dust Brothers. But yeah, I think it's now recognised as one of the great albums of all time. This is, as I say, this is one of the originals we couldn't shift in HMV. And yeah, I'm so glad I got it. And so it was a freebie. I was allowed to have it. Number 2. Another of my HMV employee buys. This one, De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. This came out on my 18th birthday, and this was most. I don't think there's ever been a bigger hip hop album in the UK. This turned so many people onto hip hop. I mean, I know we'd had like License to Ill by the Beasties, but that was kind of seen as a novelty in a way. But this brought so many kids into hip hop. A lot of my mates, even myself, who kind of dabbled with hip hop, suddenly we were on it. This was flying out of the shop. We couldn't keep this in the shop. This copy here had a production fault on the track Plug Tuning. So you can see it there. So I said to my boss, "Can I just take this?" And he went, "Yeah, go on then," because we couldn't shift it and we couldn't put it out. So I think someone had bought this one back actually. And I said, "Oh, can I have this?" And I went, "So I've played this about 800 times, never heard the track Plug Tuning, although obviously I have now. It's just incredible. Kind of on the negative side, it did introduce the world of hip hop to the idea of the skit, those little funny bits between the tunes, which by and large is awful in the world of hip hop. Although the skits on here are absolutely fantastic. But what an album! Still sounds fantastic. Again, suffers again from being about 60 minutes long and on 1 bit of vinyl. And again, you've got to really, really crank this. I think when it got reissued, they stuck it on 2 bits. But yeah, this really suffers fidelity-wise. It's just way too long an album for 1 bit of vinyl. But yeah, De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. And my number 1 hip-hop record ever, and this is just the absolute killer. Liquid Swords by the Jizza. Another Wu-Tang offshoot. I bought this, I think 95, and I could not stop listening to this. It's absolutely amazing. This is like Goodfellas on vinyl. Jizza Genius's rhyming is just incredible. RZA's sample and production is just off the charts. Again, thankfully, funny enough, they probably didn't need to put this on 2 bits of vinyl, but it is on 2 bits of vinyl. It's just incredible. Everything Jizza did after this was rubbish, which I didn't even have a problem with. But yeah, Liquid Swords by Jizza, genius. I think the greatest hip hop album ever, and a fantastic cover, sort of a parody on a Marvel sleeve. Absolutely superb. So that's my sort of top 10 hip hop albums from the golden era. Thanks for watching, and I'm sure there'll be more videos soon. Okay, bye now.